Welcome to the first edition of Motorsports Magazine for the 2013 racing season. I'm Robbie Knowles on camera, and we're joined, as we usually are, to kick off the season by Mike Perotti. We're here at the Mike Watts Memorial Car Show that's held at the Crate Civic Center every season, and it's kind of the unofficial beginning for the racing season in the greater Plattsburgh area. And you've got another good turnout again this year.
Yeah, it's a great turnout. It is every year. Everyone looks forward to this show. It's like the official spring for us in our racing world here, so it's pretty fun.
And it gives you a chance to see a number of the drivers that will be running at Airborne Speedway over the course of the 2013 season. And I know there is a lot of excitement and there's a lot of anticipation for the 2013 season. What we often do when we talk to you at the car show is we look at the different divisions at the Speedway for 2013, and let's start right at the top. We'll start with the modified division, and one thing that has been pretty consistent for Airborne through the years, the car count's been solid. The competition has been very good. Last year we had a championship point race that went right down to the last week, and you're expecting again this year the car count to be solid and the competition level to maintain that high level as well.
Well, I think the car count is going to be the same, or very close to the same, if not a few more cars, which was great. You know, the competition level has really risen this year. You know, with McGrail coming out that Troyer car, it sort of just stepped the pace up, and everyone was trying to catch up, and they did over the winter. I think there's going to be like 5 or 6 of those cars out there this year, as well as the guys have really worked on improving their own cars to compete with that car. I'm really anxious to see how that works out, being a racer and someone that enjoys working on race cars. I'm really looking forward to that. And then Pete from PMC has built a new car they'll unveil in a few weeks to try to combat the Troyer takeover, which Pete has been the primary chassis builder here in the last 4 or 5 years. So there's a lot of excitement in the modified division.
Now, who has one of the PMCs coming their way?
I know Mike Reel has got one, and has got one coming. George Foley will have a new one, as well as Andy Lindemann. So there'll be 3 of them once the season gets underway. They're a little behind down there. They lost some help. Had one guy get hurt and another one retire. So they're not quite done all those new cars yet, but they will be, I'm sure, within a month.
And you talked about some of the new Troyer chassis. Who's spent the big bucks on those Troyers?
Well, Leon got one. Leon Gagno. Jesse Mueller has one. Todd Stone has one. Pat Dupree has one. I think there's others. I just can't think of them.
And McGrail's car from last year has gone to Chris Vernal. Chris Vernal purchased McGrail's car.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Sure. Yeah, Chris will be real tough in that. So the competition level is going to be the highest it's ever been. It's going to be the most competitive, most fierce racing that we've had.
And you mentioned some of the drivers who have tried to step up their program and invested a lot of money in their infrastructure and with the chassis that they have. And then at the same time, you have some, I'll say, low buck competitors when you compare their racing budget with some of the other guys that you just mentioned. A guy like Mike Wells, who's out here, trying to fight with those guys and gain every position that he can in pursuit of a checkered flag. And that really sets up a level of interest as well, because you want to root for those guys because they are trying to compete with some of those cars and motor programs that are really tough to compete against.
Well, our motor programs, yeah, I mean, money is obviously an object in this sport, but there are other ways. Experience certainly can overcome a lot of that. Our motors are pretty much all the same. So, Mike has, for instance, a good motor, and I've taken an interest in him and some of the other guys that, as you mentioned, I sort of like the underdogs, and I've tried to help and work with them over the winter and improve their cars, and I'm really excited to see how they go, and I hope they can compete, and I know they will. It's just a matter of knowing what to do. If you don't do it all the time, you don't know. So, I'm trying to help as many guys as I can, especially the low buck guys, and I'm just really looking forward to that and seeing how Mike does. And Todd Ormsby's not a low buck guy by any means, but he's made some changes to his car. Kevin Kezar and Trims are working on that car. They're bringing that car back out. Chris K.A., Max and the Vienne's family, they've made some changes, major changes to their cars. This is the most exciting season for the modifieds that I've seen. I can't wait for it to start.
And the other thing in that division, you've still got, it's almost like a regional competition. It was joined last year really heavily with the state of Vermont. You've got a champion from the state of Vermont in Todd Stone, a national television star as well. I got to get you, have you watched that show at all?
Yeah, I did.
What do you think? Is he doing all right?
I think it's great.
Is he better on TV or as a driver?
No, he's a pretty good driver, so he's doing a good job on TV.
Yeah, I found that show to be pretty entertaining as well. They do a good job with that. And Gardner, of course, who is the center of attention. I mean, he's pretty good on that program. Anyways, back to racing. We talked about how you've got the Vermont drivers, the Bartermys, and Todd Stone, and then you've got, of course, the local drivers, and you got guys from the Capital District. And then you mentioned that Quebec connection. It's been there. Martin Roy, of course, a former track champion. Last year, Pat McGrail finished in the second spot, but he sold his equipment. But we still have a good number of Quebec drivers that will be contesting the 358 waters.
Oh, yeah, 6 or 8 probably. And I don't like to mention names because we always leave people out, like we just did the Barnabys.
Right.
Those guys have really, they had a car built in Indiana by a sprint car team or a sprint car manufacturer, and that's a pretty wild piece. There's 15 guys here that can win, or 15 guys and 20 guys that are working their heart out right now and spending all the money they have and all the time they have, and it's just really an interesting year. But that's true. The Quebec team, you got Pierre Bourtillon. He was really strong at the end of the year. He does a lot of work on a lot of guys' cars. Dan Brown's coming back. Vien's are really after it. The father, I think, is retired, and they're going to have a one-car team with a backup car.
Yeah. Richard Tesseur.
Tesseur, he's got a new car. He's really spent a fortune and worked a lot on that car, and they're going to be really tough about a brand new motor from down south.
Right. How about the Labreche brothers?
Yeah, they're coming back. They're actually cousins.
Oh, cousins.
Yeah, they're coming back, and he was strong at the end of the year last year, and I don't think he won, but he almost did. I don't know who we're forgetting as far as Quebec drivers. The Fourniers, they're going to both be in the 358s. They've got new Troyer cars or Troyer copies or whatever. I think they're Troyer cars, actually. Yeah, Pierre bought one last year and sold it to one of them, and then they bought another. So it's going to be super, super tough.
So listening to our discussion, I think the one word now that's jumping to mind is that the 358 class is still very healthy.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. All right, so we're looking for another exciting year of competition in the 358 division, and now let's shift gears and we'll look at the Sportsman Modified division. And this is the division that when you brought it on board last year, you thought it would grow over the course of the years, and as they approach their second full season at Airborne, word on the street and here at the car show as well, it sounds like there's going to be growth as you expected in the Sportsman Modified class.
Exactly. Last year we had 15 or 16, which we anticipated to have. This year I think we're going to be near 24 or 25. And if you look at some of these cars, it's amazing the amount of work these guys have put into them and the amount of money they spent. Also, the good thing about these cars is they can't spend a lot of money on the motor. So they got a $4,000, $4,500 motor versus a $15,000 or $25,000 motor. And on top of that, there's maintenance, that goes with the more expensive motor. So it's a lot cheaper to run a Sportsman Modified. And the interest there, it's just so nice to see new guys trying to get into the sport, to get into an open wheel car, and be able to afford to do it through that division. It's really a good division. I expect it to continue to grow. Even beyond the 24 or 25 car count.
And after drivers get their feet wet in the open wheel competition of the Sportsman Modified, we haven't seen it yet, but it's something that, although you mentioned Fournier possibly moving up into the 358, that would be an example of a driver moving from Sportsman Modified into the 358 class. But you look at some of the drivers that are in that Sportsman Modified division, with the experience that they're gaining, seems like it's probably only a matter of time before some of them will start to consider, of course, also considering their own purse strings, they'll start to consider moving up into the 358 class, and it's nice to have that feeder program.
Absolutely, and they learn how to race there, They learn how to drive these open wheel cars. And funny that you should mention that. I was talking to one of Andy Haywood's crew members today, and they said that's their plan. They're going to hope to move into the 358s in 2014.
Nick Haywood.
Nick Haywood, I'm sorry. Yeah, Andy's already there. I forgot to mention Andy too. Like I said, Andy's worked on his car and improved his chassis, and everybody has. They haven't just taken this and laid down and said, "I give up, I quit," because these tourer cars are faster. These guys are racers and modified racers, and that's what modified cars are.
Right.
They're not just cookie cutter cars where everybody has the same car.
Right.
You're allowed to do some things, and that to me is. The great thing about modifies is that you can use some ingenuity, and all these guys have stepped up to the plate and said, "We're not taking this laying down. We're gonna improve our cars."
At one point towards the end of last season, limited late model drivers were perhaps a little bit concerned about their division and the health of their division. That division is back again for 2013. Talk about the status of the limited late models.
Well, it has been a concern with the car counts dropping. Those cars are very, very hard to work on, and it takes a lot of time. The front suspension on those things require a lot of time. The cars are, in my opinion, quite expensive for the amount of effort or the purses that they race for. But it's a popular class among the fans. My position is that we're going to race those as long as we can. Those guys have supported me in this racetrack from the beginning. And as long as, we made a deal last fall with those guys to do a purse that was based on a number of cars, so we could try to keep it going rather than not keep it going.
Right.
Because they've supported us, and the fans do like them. And, it sort of looks like, some of those guys, I was afraid that some of those guys were going to jump into Sportsman Modified, which they did. But we've seen an insurgence from Vermont, like I think 3 cars coming over, and a few other guys jumping in that division. So I think we're going to be right back where we were last year with that number of cars, and I think we'll be okay.
So the limited late models back on the docket, and a division that has been so consistent through the years at Airborne, a division of great competition and intensity, and that is the Renegade Division, back again in 2013. Some other drivers moving up into that division. I think of the Renegades and how frequently they put on perhaps the best show of the night with 2 and 3 wide racing throughout almost their entire feature event.
Well, I think they're the most, yeah, they do. Arguably they put on the best races overall. It depends on what you call the best races.
Right.
But I think they have the most respect for each other of all the other divisions. They race with each other clean, lap after lap after lap. No problems with those guys. It's a dream come true division for a speedway. And many people think the same thing that it's the best division. You do, that it's the best division that we have, and I can't disagree with them. It's an awesome division. Kevin Booten's not racing again this year, which he was the track champion, I think, last year. I don't even keep track of the points. I don't even want to know. But I know he was a top contender. So that takes out one contender for someone else to move up.
Sure.
And there's nothing but good to say about the Renegade Division.
And then, of course, our four-cylinder division, returns again this year. 5-cylinder would be interesting. That means you got a lot of problems. But the 4-cylinder division is back again this year in the mini modifieds. You made some changes to them, a couple of years ago now. And that division as well always puts on an entertaining show. And in terms of car count, is that healthy again this year as well?
I have no idea. The 4-cylinder division, you got a group of guys that are always there, and then as that class grows, it sort of just breeds like mosquitoes as the season goes on,
And we know that happens at the racetrack.
Yeah, it just, you don't know with that division. Guys just decide at the last minute they want to do it. And it is good racing, and they, all the racing is good. It's these guys put a lot of hard work into this and take it serious, and they do a good job.
All right, so we've talked about the 5 divisions. Now let's look at the schedule aspect for 2013. We kicked the year off with a big race for the modifieds, as traditionally is the case, and I noticed that you have named that opening 60-lap event in honor of Craig Ormsby.
Correct. Obviously, Craig passed away a month or so ago, and him and I started racing at the same time, and Craig was a great guy, a good friend, and we always like to honor the people that were contributed a lot to the speedway. And his dad was a racer in the 60s and 50s, late 50s probably, I'm not sure, but it's a racing family. His brothers continues to race, and we just wanted to honor Craig, and he always looked forward to that opening race. So we're just going to do it in his memory, and going to miss Craig around here.
And of course, more than anything else, what has really accentuated the schedule, the International 500, something that you've worked a lot with Tom Curley and the American Canadian Tour to put together. I think what you could fairly say is going to be, at least purse-wise, the biggest weekend that the Speedway has really ever seen.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, purse-wise, it's $140,000 plus, and probably one of the top 5 races in the East, or I don't know, even beyond that. Certainly, as far as short track racing is concerned, it's a huge, huge event. There's going to be a lot of race cars, a lot of people, and I'm just honored to be able to have an event like that here at Plattsburgh. To draw on a number of competitors that I believe we will, and the fans from out of the area, from New England, from Quebec, from Ontario. It's going to be a nice boost to the economy in our area, and it's going to be a fun event, that's for sure.
I know there were some changes within the ACT landscape, and when Tom Curley wanted to put together a signature event, which he lost a signature event in Maine, and he wanted to develop another signature event, it was Airborne Speedway. That was the track that he really focused on, and he focused on it in large part because of the competition that his division, the American Canadian Tour late models, have seen here at Airborne, the close competition, and the configuration of the racetrack, which has produced such close racing for that division over the years.
Yeah, when we redid this racetrack, it changed the whole complexion of this place. And the racing, you know, typically everyone used to say the ACT late models didn't put on a good race, it was follow the leader. Well, that's not the case anymore. And I don't know if it was the case before. I never really paid that much attention, but it certainly isn't anymore. You know, side by side, battling it out. They decided their championship last year in the last few laps of a 200-lap race, and a bunch of lead changes. And Tom Curley told me that's the best race he'd seen in 20 years. I wasn't here, I didn't see it, but those cars really race well here now. All the drivers really like the place. It's really centrally located for what he's doing. You know, with so close to Quebec and New England. The location is great, and we have a good working relationship. So the whole thing just was a natural, in my opinion, to come here, and I guess his too. So it's here.
And I know one of the things that there's perhaps been some discussion about online, Airborne itself, the anticipation for that race, the potential crowd for that race. I know some people have questioned whether the Speedway is large enough to, in terms of capacity, seating capacity, for the expected crowd or the crowd that you might anticipate for a race that pays $25,000 to the winner, and again, $140,000 purse to the winner of that event. In your mind, Airborne's going to be able to handle this just fine?
Yes. We'll make it work.
Yeah, I think about some of the crowds that we've seen for those fireworks displays over the last 2 years, and you found a way to make those things work as well. So, you know, I think, again, there's just a tremendous amount of anticipation, and I think the people in the local area who won't have to travel to see a race maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours with that type of intensity and with that type of money on the line, which, of course, when you put that much on the line, is going to breed the intensity. I think it's a real privilege for the people in the local area to be able to travel, you know, a relatively short distance to go watch a race with that much intensity.
Without a doubt. I mean, this is going to be a huge event, and it's, you know, people in the area that aren't real big race fans or just casual race fans don't realize the impact that this is going to have. This is a nationally recognized event. You know, I mean, it's a big deal. When I went to Florida in February and we were at the promoters meetings and things, you know, it was a topic of discussion among promoters, and it's going to be a real big deal. It's going to be really, I'm glad that it's here. I'm just proud that we have it here.
And it's a real boost, as I think you were alluding to. The Chamber of Commerce certainly has to be jumping up and down as well, because that just adds yet another very busy weekend to the greater Plattsburgh area's calendar. And if you're a restaurant owner or a hotel owner in the greater Plattsburgh area, that should certainly boost their revenues on the weekend, and it really is a big boost to the entire region.
I don't think they realize how big a boost it is. You know, racing's always been in this area. I don't think it's ever gotten the credit that it's deserved for the amount of the impact that it has on the community, but they're certainly going to get their eyes open on this one. It's going to be a big deal.
And of course, the Airborne.
The Chamber's great. I love working with the Chamber, but I just don't think that anyone in this area really realizes how big this is going to be.
And the Airborne divisions play a big role in that weekend as well.
Yeah, they're all racing, you know, so it's a good deal. Our guys are going to get to showcase what they can do in front of big crowds from out of the area. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
I think, what is it, 3,000 to win on that weekend for the modifieds, to 358?
Yeah, it's a 20. More importantly, we don't really care about how much it is to win. We
Right.
want to make sure everybody does all right. It's like $400 or $500 to start that race. So it's a $27,000 race for our modifieds that normally run for $8,000 or something like that.
Other highlights to the season schedule in your mind, either for the local divisions, any other groups that we might see? I know the American Canadian Tour late models are going to make 3 appearances, one in the spring, that midsummer race, the International 500, and then again at the end of their schedule. Anything else that you're really looking forward to on the schedule?
I'm looking forward to the Neiman Midgets. It's an open wheel division, very fast, very entertaining. Never been here, or I haven't been here since early 70s.
Right.
So in most of our minds had never been here because we don't remember seeing them. But
Right.
they're really looking forward to coming. I'm looking forward to seeing them here. Other than that, like you said, the ACT races, the first one in May is really a tune-up for that August or July deal, and then they come back in July. And then we have, extra distance races for our divisions. I've decided to try to do less with outside touring divisions and do more for our local guys, put money back in to them. And that whole thing's a cycle. It comes and goes, and a few years from now we'll be bringing more touring divisions back. But as it is now, we're focusing more on our local divisions.
Yeah, you talked about the Neiman Midgets, winged, open-wheeled race cars that I know they race down at Oswego traditionally, and they race on some other tracks that are, like Airborne, approach a half-mile size. And it is pretty amazing how quickly those cars will scoot around the Airborne Speedway, and they're very maneuverable, and they can really slice and dice. They'll put on a good show, and of course that's not to short our own divisions. And to me, that's always one of the most entertaining things about the modifieds. It's the noise, the intensity, the wheel-to-wheel competition between those drivers in our local divisions. And if you haven't been to Airborne on a Saturday night, it really is, I think, an eye-opener. And I've had a number of families that have said to me, boy, that place has changed so much over the years. And I think there is, in some ways, maybe a reputation from the past that the track still carries that has been tough to shake. But I think year after year, that reputation starts to fade away as more eyes, I think, are opened up to the fact that it's not a place where, pardon the expression, but a bunch of rednecks go on Saturday night to drink beer and then beat each other up after the races. It's not like that anymore.
Well, that's sort of what I was referring to earlier about the people not really knowing what to expect. The majority of the people, it's a blue-collar thing, I mean, it's not a church that we're running here, this is a sporting event, and but we want some excitement, we don't want
Right.
fighting or anything like that, but we want people to be enthused and to get involved, and just like they do at a hockey game or a football game, but it is not, it's not like it used to be, with what you're talking about, with a lot of fighting and things like that. But and it's improved each year, and we continue to try to make it improve. We do things every year to try to improve the facility, really focusing on safety this year. That's my major issue right now. We've done a lot of things to improve safety for the racers, so I'm really proud of that. It's a pretty neat place. It's not for everybody, but it certainly is for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think it's a good place to bring a family on a Saturday night. When you look at the expense of a number of other entertainment options, it's very reasonably priced, and again, it's a family-friendly atmosphere that you've tried to create.
We're trying to do that. We have done that, and we'll continue to do it.
Well, it's not that far away now. As we sit here and film this on the, the 20th, 21st, just a couple of weeks away. 22nd? No, 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away, we'll kick things off on May the 4th, and I know you're excited about it, and so are all the racing fans in the local community. And as always, we wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to the exciting competition of 2013.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's Mike Perotti. Stay tuned for more Motorsports Magazine. It's coming right up.
Back here on Motorsports Magazine, joined with last year's champion in the Adirondack Water Systems Sportsman Modified Division, Nick Haywood. And Nick, we're here at the car show, obviously. It's a new season, and you've got a new-looking car. You said it was the same car as last year. Go ahead and talk about some of the things that you freshened up with that car from last year.
Oh, we basically went through the whole suspension, new body, couple new lightweight fast parts, and we got a new paint scheme this year. So hopefully the car's as fast as it looks.
Now, last year, certainly a very dominating season for you. 7 wins. You made the jump up last season, and we just got done talking with Mike Parati, and Mike said that eventually your goal in the end is to move up to the modified division after a few years in the Sportsman division. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say in probably 4 or 5 years. I got to improve my career a little bit better, and as far as financial-wise, but eventually I'd like to race the 358s. I got in one last year, and the horsepower difference is so much better. It's a whole different ball game, but a lot more fun.
Now, he also talked about some more competition coming in this year. He thinks around 24 cars for this division, and certainly it's a division that's going to build over the years, and hopefully this year, from your standpoint, you still have a strong year like last year, even though there are more competitors coming in, obviously.
Yeah, I'm excited for the more competitors, and I'm hoping to have as good of a year as I had last year, but I don't know if it's going to be quite as feasible to get 7 wins and win a championship, but I'm just going to try to stay consistent, and hopefully all the other guys have a good year too,
So for some of those guys that maybe are in a limited late model or are in a Renegade right now, talk about the change and the difference in the time that it took you to adjust to the Sportsman modified coming out of the what is now limited late model division. It was a Sportsman when you were there, now a limited late model. Talk about the difference in the time it takes to get used to an open-wheeled car.
As far as the driving technique, it took a little bit more time to get used to the car rolling over more with the body roll. But as far as driving, it was kind of like getting on a bike. Once you drive one thing, you can kind of drive anything, I guess. But working on them is a heck of a lot easier than working on the limited late models. But I mean, when you have open tires and stuff, you gotta watch for that. But other than that, I think it's pretty much not the same, but like riding a bike,
At the end of last season, I know you took a venture over to Devil's Bowl Speedway. Talk about this season for you, your plans at Airborne, and then perhaps where you might also may be taking that number 29 car.
We're going to focus mainly on Airborne, and then at the end of the year when Airborne's all done, we're going to go over to Devil's Bowl, and this time we're going to be a little bit more prepared, and we're gonna go for a win over there this time.
I know certainly the Airborne schedule this year certainly has a few very big dates, but any weekend in particular that maybe you have a favorite? Maybe you like fireworks, maybe you like when ACT's there, perhaps when a touring group is there. Any date on the schedule that you in particular like for this season?
I'm definitely looking forward to the Invitational 500. I mean, whenever the ACT's there, it's a lot more fun for me because we camp at the track and stuff. So, the whole weekend itself is fun, full of festivities. So that's what I look forward to.
All right, well, we wish you good luck in this 2013 season, and we'll look for that number 29 in Victory Lane a few times.
Thank you very much.
That's Nick Haywood. More Motorsports Magazine is coming right up.
Welcome back to Motorsports Magazine, joined now by the limited late model champion from 2012. Plattsburgh's Buck O'Branham winning the championship last year. Pretty convincing fashion. Your car was real dominant down the stretch last season.
Yeah, the car, we dialed it in probably the third race in, and we found something and paid off towards the end of the year.
And that car is back with you again this year. It's the same car. You've just worked on it over the course of the winter?
Yeah, we made a couple things better, and we're going to experiment again and see if we can get it a little quicker.
Is that your attitude often going into the beginning of the season? You're ready to try some things out, and then once you find the what is to your liking, you'll leave it there at least for a week or two? But you're always changing
every week. I mean, we try something every week, and towards the end of the year, we kind of kept it simple and just tried to maintain the point lead.
And you've had a busy winter.
Yeah.
When did you get the ACT late model?
We got that February 14th, actually, right on Valentine's Day.
Did your wife know? Or was that a present for her?
She knew. Yeah, we went over and got it in February, and I mean, we've been working on it ever since, and hopefully we can do well with it.
Can you give us the background on that car, where that car is from?
It was a car that Pete Dudo had over at Fast One Motorsports, and he acquired it from somebody that owed him some money, and he offered it to me for a pretty good price. So we jumped right on it.
And I know you've always had a deep respect for Tom Curley and the American Canadian Tour, and certainly your timing and the American Canadian Tour with a real renewed presence at Airborne Speedway in 2013. It seems to be an ideal time for you, at least, to move back in that direction and to give some of that racing a shot. What are your plans with that ACT late model?
We're going to try and run 2 races at Devil's Bowl and the 3 at Plattsburgh, and we might look at staying there. Just going to go on a race-by-race basis and see where money brings us. I mean, right now, Adirondack Water Systems is helping us out on the late model, and Garrett Sanitation. We're still looking for more people because, I mean, it's going to cost me $1,200 a race just for tires. So, I mean, it's a pretty big expense. So, you're looking at, just for 5 races, you're looking at $5,000, just for tires.
So if there are sponsorship opportunities available on the number 20.
Definitely.
And of course, if anybody's interested, then you want to make sure that you get in touch with Bucko and get your name on the side of that race car. Now, the limited late model, will you be at Airborne weekly?
Yeah, we'll be racing weekly. Made the commitment with the sponsors, Liquor and Wine Warehouse and Bud Light, for this season. And I mean, hopefully we can do better than what we did last year. I don't see it happening, but I think we'll be fine.
And those are some sponsors as well that have been really loyal to you over the course of the last several seasons.
Yeah, they've been, like I always said, I have the best sponsors in the North Country. People have no idea how devoted they are to, just keeping Airborne open and supporting them too.
One of the things that I noticed at the end of the season race, that is the American Canadian Tour end of season race, when they crowned their champion, the fall foliage event at the end of the season, you were able to run that race in an ACT late model, and the reception from the crowd, certainly to have a local driver, an Airborne regular running in that race, even perhaps over the course of the season where you may not always have everybody in the crowd on your side in the limited late model division, I think you get a number of people that are hoping to see a local and a regular Airborne guy do well in those races, and that has to be pretty gratifying to not only represent the fans that are always with you, but to gain those other race fans as well.
Yeah, I mean, just making the show is a positive for us because 14 regulars, they go home, and we made the show. We weren't great, but about lap 80, we hit it, and we brought Hollowell, Hoare, and all them guys right to the front, and then just a little mishap. I mean, Gene Paul spun in front of us, and I had no place to go. And granted, we were a lap down, but I mean, who knows? I probably could have had a top 10 finish after, but coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah. One of the events that you have to have circled, a weekend that you have to have circled, is that weekend in the middle of July, the International 500. That is going to be a really big deal, and that has to be something you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, we got a Dale Shaw car, so I mean, Dale Shaw car dominated at Lee, New Hampshire, and Dale's going to give us a hand. So I'm hoping we can get it dialed in for Plattsburgh, because that's basically why we bought the car, because there was 3 big races at Airborne, and don't have to travel far for me, so it makes it a plus.
And of course, $25,000 to win is a bit of an incentive as well. I don't think there's, and you'd know better than I'm not sure there's ever been a payday like that at the Airborne Speedway.
No, probably the biggest payday that we've had is probably that modified show in the 420s that I won. I mean, that's probably the biggest races that we've had here. And I mean, even a non-qualifier race is $3,000 to win. So that's a plus for all the guys that don't qualify. I mean, even if you don't make the show, you're still making some money to pay your tire bill and your gas bill.
I know one thing that has been true for you through the years, and that is it's a family event. The wife, your daughter, always right there with you, and that makes it, I know from your standpoint, it probably is what allows you to continue to do what you do.
Yeah, she'd like me to slow down a little bit, but I told her we got to do this move right here, and this is the way I want to end my career, is just driving a late model. And I mean, if we do 6 races a year, I'll try to make myself happy, and we'll see. Who knows? You never know.
And let's go back to the limited late model division that you'll be running here at Airborne on a regular basis. Robin Wood back in the division, Jamie Begor back in the division. Real good rivalry that got heated at times last year, but I know during the off season you guys are talking to one another, and people may not see it on the racetrack at times, but there's a pretty good level of respect and communication that you have with those guys.
Yeah, me and Jamie and Jamie's crew, especially Jamie's crew. I mean, I get along great with the guys. And like when we went to St. Eustache, it was like nothing happened. I mean, we get along great. It's just we don't race well together. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean,
You know, the fans may not either, because it makes for pretty good drama.
I think it's great. You know, it might not be great at the time, but you look back on it, and it's probably the best thing that happened to Airborne. You know what I mean? I mean, where else do you get that kind of action? You know what I mean? And it's not like we're wrecking each other. We're just racing hard.
Right.
I mean, we're really racing hard, and I think the fans like to see it.
So you're going to have a busy year, and I know we certainly wish you the best in the 2013 racing season, both with the limited late model that you'll run at Airborne on a regular basis, as well as with the ACT late model and the appearances that you'll make with the American Canadian Tour. Best of luck with your endeavors.
Okay, I appreciate it.
That's Buck O'Branham, everybody. Look for that number 20 at the Airborne Speedway, as well as select events with the American Canadian Tour. We'll come back with more when Motorsports Magazine continues right after this. Welcome back to Motorsports Magazine. We're joined now by Saranac Lake's Patrick Dupree, a driver in the 358 Modified Division. Pat's back in 2013, and some exciting changes happening for your team, a brand new car that's in the stable.
Yeah, we've got a new Troyer car that we're excited about. It's, you know, kind of still in the early stages of Troyer's asphalt development with these kind of cars, but they've proven to be fast, and we're, you know, working with those guys, and we're anxious to try it out because we've seen what they can do, and hopefully we can do the same, if not a little bit better.
Well, certainly Pat McGrail brought one of those cars to the track last year, turned a lot of heads, and it seemed like on most nights everybody was chasing the 10. And the old adage is, if you can't beat them, join them. And that, certainly a lot of people did beat Pat McGrail last year, but his car was very fast. So a lot of people said Troyer seems to be the way to go, and I understand that there's not just your car, but a number of other drivers as well have turned to a Troyer for 2013.
Yeah, there's quite a few more guys that are trying them out. You know, it's the way racing goes. New technology comes out. You know, Wes and a little bit of myself, mostly him, but have been kind of innovators along the lines of, you know, making things go faster. And you know, the Troyer guys are obviously in it. You know, that's their business, so they've really made it happen. And looking forward to working with them. It's like you know, when someone comes out with a new weapon, you have to have it, because we're not there to run second.
Sure. 2012, last year, a bit of an up and down season for you. I would bet, knowing you, you'd say it was probably more on the disappointing side with a number of bugaboos that you had over the course of the season. Reflect back on 2012. You probably try to put it away from your memory at this point, but talk about some of the highs and some of the lows of last year.
Yeah, we had a couple of good runs, couple wins, and obviously those are highlights, but you know, some gremlins and you know, a couple bad finishes. We had a DQ for a tire that was a, you know, kind of an honest, goofy mistake, and it was only for that week that the tire wasn't legal. I mean, it was just like anything that could have went wrong at times did. So, you know, I think we got the monkey off our back for this year, and you know, not that last year was that horrible, but you know, the champion had a flawless season, and you know, that's what racing at Airborne has become. You have to be pretty much flawless. It's not like you know, even the way it was a few years ago. It's really progressed. So you got to bring your A game every week.
And that champion is returning. Todd Stone will be back, and he's also going to have one of those Troyers. So perhaps it's a learning curve for yourself and those other guys that are jumping into that car. But one advantage that you have, although Todd's crew certainly is outstanding as well, and that's another thing with a number of the teams there. They have really professional crews. You've got Wes that's helping with you, and he's been working with you throughout your career. Certainly a luxury to call on his experience trying to make that car fast.
Yeah, to say the least. You know, he's the guy that's always coming up with new ideas, and you know, even though we have a different car from a different manufacturer, we're still going to put our own tweak on it. Everybody does, and Wes just has a knack for rubbing those cars the right way, and making it my job look easy. So hopefully we can do that again this year, and I'll just have to sit behind the wheel and out for a Sunday drive.
What's your motor program for this year?
We still have Andy Costello. Andy's great. He makes awesome motors. He's, it's nice we have him there at the track with us every week. And, we're definitely not lacking in our motor department. So we're still good to go there, and we've got fresh stuff. Just waiting for the weather to let us go back and get on the speedway.
So the car that you have at the car show this weekend is a car that you'll keep in the stable as a backup if you ever needed it.
Yeah, it is. We're going to work on the Troyer, obviously, as a primary car. But sometimes the primary cars, we've had 3 cars, for a period of time, bring 2 to the track. The one that you think is going to be a backup ends up being faster. So you can kind of get yourself in over your head with 2 cars, but it's always good to have something, for a backup. And, we might bring this one down for the first few weeks and see which ones goes better, but we got to focus on getting the Troyer to turn and keeping that one up front.
And based on what I was reading online, you'll have a teammate at times this year. Tommy Close from Potsdam will be working with yourself as well as with Wes for select events in the summertime.
Yeah, Tommy's a great guy. As a matter of fact, I remember I was quite a bit younger. I think one of the first races I was in, I was probably like 15 or something in a late model car, and those guys were the guys to beat. They were out there turning crazy lap times, and I was just a kid watching them. But he's a really nice guy. They're good people and good competitors. So I'm sure he'll have fun. It's going to be a little bit different, I think, for him getting into a car like this on the asphalt. But we're here to have fun, and he's a fast learner, so it'll be cool.
And let's talk about the competition for 2013. We mentioned Todd Stone returns. Pat McGrail not returning this year, and he talked at the end of 2012 that indeed that might be the case, and he has sold his equipment. But still, you start with Todd Stone, and then there's a whole bunch of other guys. Foley is back, and a number of regular names that we've seen at Airborne over the course of the years. And, as you said, you can't have a number of bad weeks because the rest of the field, they really seem to be pretty consistent, and that speaks to the level of competition with the 358 division, and you just can't have many hiccups.
Yeah, there's no more having a bad week and bouncing back. Anything can happen, but as we saw last year, that's probably slim to none of your odds. You have to just be there at your A game every week, and like you said, Pat's not coming back, which was kind of disappointing. I liked racing against him as a good competitor, and I like to beat guys like that. So, Todd's there, and everyone just every year elevates their game. So it's the competition is fierce, and you have to be consistent.
Have you looked at the schedule and perhaps see a date or two that really jumps to the top of your list as an event that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this opening race. I think we've won it at least 2 years in a row. I could be wrong. You probably know more of the stats than I do, but we usually do pretty well in that one. And it's nice to the first race to get back in and try to get a win under your belt for the season. And I'm always a fan of the bigger shows. Right. I've always been a fan of the longer races, but we're looking forward to every weekend. It's pretty much the only track we're going to run at as far as we have set aside right now. So it's with our other work, we're kind of busy. So it's every weekend at Airborne is going to be it. Sure.
How'd Syracuse go last fall? I know typically you guys have ventured out there and tried the big Columbus Day weekend race.
Yeah, last year was not that great for us. We kind of brought a knife to a gunfight. We didn't know how well the car was going to work. We had it as an asphalt car, and tried to set it up more for dirt, and just kind of took a shot at it, not knowing what was going to happen, and then realized that we were outmatched. You don't go to Syracuse to run around even in the top 10 because we've done that before. I finished 7th there, and I think we got like $600. Right, it's like you go there to win it, and if we were going to go there to win it, we didn't bring the right car, so we pulled it out. We kept it in one piece, and now we're going to race it at Airborne. So if we go back there, we'll bring a different car, or try something different. Right.
Well, we're looking forward to 2013, 2 weeks away as we film this now. The season kicks off on Saturday, May the 4th, and car number 24. New sponsor this year? Did I see that on the side?
We didn't talk about that.
You got to squeeze that in.
I know. Well, I'm sleeping over here. But no, we've got Labatt Blue Light on the side of the car. from Plattsburgh Distributing. They're helping us out this year. We're really excited. The cars look, I think they're the coolest looking cars that we've had, and you know, Blue Light's not a real bad beer to be sponsored by, so we're really excited, and both cars look awesome. It's always cool and, you know, fresh to have a new sponsor, and of course we still have Saranac Country Store. They're still on board. They're at the track every week, along with Fournier's Farm Equipment in Vermont, and you know, of course, Wes's business is on the side of the car too. We got to mention that, but yeah, that's like really cool having a new fancy looking car and new sponsor, and makes it exciting.
Well, we'll look for the fast number 24 in a couple of weeks. Best of luck, Pat.
I certainly hope so. We'll take luck over skill any day.
That's Patrick Dupree, everybody. Stay tuned. More Motorsports Magazine coming up.
This concludes our coverage of Motorsports Magazine, the first edition of the 2013 season here at the Crate Memorial Civic Center. And we want to thank Mike Perotti, Bucko Branham, Nick Haywood, as well as Patrick Dupree for doing some interviews with us. And there will be many more interviews to come throughout the 2013 season. Week 1 is just 2 weeks away as we film this. Again, at the car show, the Crate Memorial Civic Center in Plattsburgh, New York. Stay tuned to Motorsports Magazine on Plattsburgh.com, as well as the Charter Cable Communications Network, Channel 15, and up on the northern tier. As well, we want to thank Calvin Castine for helping us out getting it on air up in the northern tier, up near the Champlain region, as well as Goose Gagnon here in the greater Plattsburgh area for helping us out with Charter Communications. So for Rob Knowles, I'm Robbie Knowles. Stay tuned for more Motorsports Magazine this season. It's going to be coming.